Okay, ready?
Yes,
Okay,
I
let's
am.
perfect. All right, excellent. So here's the deal. So I'm going to go over these things, the discussion posts for the week, what body paragraphs are, how to deal with them, since that's what the discussion post is about. I'll talk about logical fallacies and the PowerPoint assignment that everybody has to do. I'll probably break those up and like stop, and then if you have questions, we can talk too. But I just think it's better to make shorter videos about specific things because I think people would watch them more. I know I would. I don't want to watch like a 30-minute video. It just seems too intimidating. So here we go. So we're going to start with the discussion. So the idea is this. You have your textbook. They've assigned certain pages. In those pages, there will be articles, sort of like I think that also happened last week. So the first post is a paragraph where you are evaluating an argument that's being made in one of those articles. So you're picking one of the articles, whichever one you want, and your job is to evaluate the argument. So that means it's not really about if you agree or disagree with the person, it's about how well they are arguing. So you want to look for things that they do. So this is the idea of like you're looking for strategies that they're using. Like, are they telling a story to be persuasive? Are they doing the opposing point thing where they bring up the other side and then they sort of shoot it down? So you're basically trying to pick out the different things that the person's using to help persuade. And then, I mean, you're judging whether it's working or not. But the important part of this is really to find some of the strategies that they're using, um, point them out, quote from the actual article, right? So this person is trying to persuade. Have we done ethos, pathos, and logos yet? I'm trying to
No.
remember. We haven't done that yet. Okay. So this is just you're looking for, are they using logic? I would say the best thing to do is actually to look for the opposing point, right? So you say, okay, this person's making making an argument, and here's where they bring up the other side, and here's what they say, and then here's how they go about, um, refuting that point. I think that would be the best. It's the most concrete thing, right? Meaning you could also talk about the voice. Author's voice just means like the style, right? The tone that they're using. Are they being aggressive or sarcastic? Are they being, um, do they seem arrogant or whatever? So that's another thing you can look at is their voice. In any event, so that's what that is. Pick um, an article, pick a main argument from that. You're basically going to say, here's what the argument is, and here's the thing or a couple things that the person uses to make their argument to be persuasive.
Can we choose like any other article instead of the book?
No, you want to no, they want to make sure it's one from the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they've assigned these pages before, but because some of them are very short, and so yeah, they want to use the one from the book because the idea being that I know most of those, right? So I can sort of talk about them and help people with them. Like, so I'm familiar with them, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So pick one from there, and they're
So in
short.
these pages, there should be like bunch of articles,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yep. And they're pretty short and they're easy to read. They're not scholarly, as we say. They're just sort of
Mm-hmm.
regular articles. Okay. And then the second part, so that's your first post. I mean, that's the first part of your initial post. So you're going to then have another part, which is your a paragraph from your essay, meaning the essay that you're putting together. So you're going to write a body paragraph and then you're going to put that as part of your initial post. So your initial post basically has two long paragraphs. One evaluating one of the articles, the arguments, and then the second one is your actual writing for your essay. Um,
Can you tell me about the second part of the discussion a little bit more?
yep, here it is. If I can make it. Okay, so the idea is everybody's working on having making an argument or having I think we already started to do this, trying to figure out what three main arguments are, like three main points that you're going to make. So this is basically starting to work on one of those points, right? So if you did the thesis that we were working on, or just trying to identify, most people came up with a broad thesis statement, actually in the homework last week, had a thesis statement, and then maybe came up with a couple or two or three other topics or supporting ideas. So what you're going to do is take one of those supporting ideas and you're going to write a paragraph. So, and what you need to have in it, basically, is a topic sentence, okay? And I'll talk about, I have that here. Let me show you. So the topic sentence, the very first sentence of the paragraph, should be like a little mini argument, right? It should be one of the main ideas that you have. So if you have three main ideas, you're going to basically pick one of them to start with, and then you're going to make a statement. Your topic sentence is an argument type thing. So let me see if I can. Here's my little hints for this, like that can help sometimes, but.
Okay.
So the topic sentence, I would say you're trying to use the word because. This means that you're creating a sentence that is making an argument or taking a position, right? Like, people should provide birth control for free in school because that will help lower teenage pregnancy, something like that. And then your whole rest of your paragraph is about presenting evidence, like some research that supports that supports that main topic sentence.
So let me clarify with you. So on the first part of the discussion, we have to talk about one of the article that we choose from those pages, right?
Yep.
And for the second part, we need to it's related to that article again, right?
No, it's
No?
your topic. What you're writing about. Hold on, I think I screwed this up. You're writing about teenage.
I'm
No, wait,
writing about women,
women.
like
Yep,
pregnancy women.
exactly. That's your main. So you're going to actually write a paragraph for that essay. So you're going to write a body paragraph, right? In theory, everybody's sort of done an introduction paragraph. Now this is one of the body paragraphs. So, and it's on your subject, right? So you're going to pick one of your main ideas. Let's say, I'm trying to think of yours as an example, like there should be better prenatal care or something for people in lower income or something like that. That would be one of your main ideas. So you basically are writing a paragraph starting with that idea that better prenatal care needs to be provided to people in low income areas because that will, I don't know, something about leading to children having healthier lives or better lives or something like that. And that's what the topic sentence is. And then the rest of the paragraph is basically working on the topic sentence. I mean, sort of proving the different parts of the topic sentence.
Like how I can prove it? Like, can you give me an example regarding my topic?
Yeah, exactly. Hold on. I'm going to write this out. Better prenatal services need to be provided to women living in low income areas because this will help this will help prevent something like childhood diseases, something terrible or like. So if we're pretending that this is our ground, this is another language we're using. It's one of our main arguments. So the next thing, see if I can. So the idea is now what you're doing. So once you have your topic sentence, you basically now know what you need to like write about, like what you need to put in the paragraph. So, for example, this is how I try to teach it. You want to look at your sentence sort of before the word because and after the word because. So the first thing you want to do is you need to prove or support the words, whatever you say before the word because. So here's what I would be doing, right? I would first be like, okay, so it's the first thing I need to start working on or proving or doing is that better prenatal services need to be provided to women living in low income areas. So I'm going to have to establish that women living in low income areas don't really receive prenatal care or services or something. So I'm going to need to have information about that, write about that. So I need to establish this whole idea. And then I will turn and I will deal with the second part, which is I will talk about childhood diseases that are in low income areas and how that can harm families and have children have terrible lives or something like that. So basically, that's how I think of it. If you have a good topic sentence, you know exactly what you need to write about. So the first thing I'm going to start writing about is to prove this idea that they don't really have women living in low income areas don't have good prenatal services. So I will try to find a quote from an expert or statistics, something like that.
About like one paragraph about it for the second
Exactly.
part.
Yep. Yeah. So you're trying to it depend. I mean, so this again, has to do a little bit with how much research you have. Um, but in this, like in general, so you have your next sentence will be all about proving or showing that women in low income areas don't get good prenatal care, something like that. Because that could be for various reasons. There aren't any clinics around where they live, they don't have enough money. Who knows? I mean, it depends on the information that you have. It's a pattern, basically. So you have your topic sentence. The next sentence you have basically explains or focuses in on the first part of your topic sentence. Like you just sort of explain it or, build on it a little bit. And then you want to give evidence. So the next sentence would be some sort of research evidence. So a quote or statistics or something like that. And then in doing this, you're basically doing a few things. Like to do evidence well, you sort of need to set up the evidence. That's sort of like make sure that you're setting up so people know what you're about to do. And I could actually I might have an example I could show you. But you're doing anytime you want to do evidence, you use evidence. You want to make sure that you set it up, that you introduce it, and that you write a sentence that follows up, that basically explains the quote. We'll just say it's a quote for the moment. So you set the quote, you present it. So like this is like if it's a quote for specifically, you want to make sure we know who you're quoting and what. So set up the quote, you present the quote, and then you sort of follow up with and explain the quote after. This is all about how you incorporate quotes or paraphrases or whatever into your own writing. But the best thing is this highlighted. So I basically just show here's the quote I'm going to use. I need to set it up so I actually sort of explain. Like in his theory of culture shock, Berg explains that it's the absence of social cues that begins the process of culture shock. And then he implies that then I'm sort of introducing him or whatever, introducing the quote. And then I present the quote, and then I basically explain or summarize the quote.
So the quote that I'm gonna use should be like from one of the article, right? That I'm choosing like
Your
online or
research.
from
Yes.
library,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And then I need to cite it again.
Yes. That's
Okay.
going to be a big part of it. Yeah. So you need to, when you use the quote in it, you need to put the last name and the year.
Yes.
So that's, yeah, that's, I'm just going to put this in there one too.
Can I use like one of the article that I used before?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, any of the things you've been collecting, you can use those, like whatever you found. Yeah, because we just found a bunch for the annotated bibliography, right? So I'm putting that example that I just showed you in our discussion for this, on the discussion board for this week also. And so what you end up with, and if you really, integrate a quote really well, this is the whole thing here. So it's kind of big, right? Like there's a whole sentence before it, then there's the quote, and then there's a whole sentence after it. So, to do that well, it sort of takes time. So that's basically, that's the pattern. So I explain it, I give evidence, I integrate the evidence, I set it up, I present the quote, I explain the quote. The next thing I will do is I will turn my attention to the second idea in this, which is about childhood diseases. And so it depends how much you have to say, but it's possible that this all goes in, well, or you do another paragraph. So it depends on how much you write, I guess. So either you start another paragraph, which will be fine, or you could just keep going with this paragraph because it's still about the same thing, sort of. Basically, do the same thing. Find a piece of evidence. So you just want to make sure it's mostly all of your language, right? You're just using, part of a quote or whatever, or a sentence, but that's essentially the same thing. Next, so I explain the second part of the topic sentence, which is all about types of childhood diseases that exist in poor, low. So I'll talk about those. The last sentence will basically be putting them back together, right? So I put them together. I say they need better this to prevent childhood diseases. I basically have proven or used evidence to show my two parts of it. And then I sort of end with basically restating in a better way, hopefully, my topic sentence.
So the final sentence should be connect the low-income prenatal to
Exactly.
to the
Childhood disease.
childhood
Yes,
diseases.
you're gonna. Yeah, exactly. So you're basically saying, look, I just gave you this evidence, and so this is why better prenatal care is needed because it will prevent these. Right. So you're sort of just restating the conclusion. See, that what's weird is the topic sentence is a conclusion, and then because it's basically saying here's the conclusion, then you prove it, and then you sort of end with a conclusion again. So I'm comparing. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the body paragraph.
So this week we have a lot of assignment.
I know. It's true.
Professor, we have another class too. Like,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.